I know some of you guys have not been living under a rock, but just in case you are, I'm sure you guys have heard Friday night, and future me editing this is your starting point. That will make sense as you guys see more videos out on the table, on the channel. We got the NCAA. They came out with some news in terms of the findings of the NCAA investigation of the Tennessee football program. Now, the reason why Tennessee football was being investigated is not anything that Josh Heupel has been doing at the University of Tennessee since when he took over in the year 2021. He'll be entering his third year himself, but is under the previous regime, Jeremy Pruitt. He was the previous coach of Tennessee, and he was being investigated for some things that happened in 2019 and 2020. And the NCAA, they did come out and they did mention of what they found out through their investigation. And also, we found out at the same time what is the punishment for Tennessee. So we'll go ahead and get into that. What we ended up finding from that NCAA investigation, and this is straight from the NCAA website itself. This is where it was posted. It was on July 14th, and any article that I cite, any source that I cite, I will have linked in the description of each YouTube video so that you guys know that the information that I'm pulling out of, I'm not just pulling it out of my butt. I'm going to do my research when I can, and to give you guys the opportunity as well to read from what I'm reading from. And obviously, I'm not going to read from the NCAA article word for word because you guys would tune out within the first 5 to 10 seconds anyways. But the NCAA concluded its investigation, and during the 3 seasons that but Jeremy Pruitt was the head coach of the Tennessee football program, they have committed 200 individual infractions, including 18 of which that were level 1 violations. And those violations come from recruiting rules violations as well as direct payments to prospects. Now, looking over this allegations further, I'm looking through the example now. One of them is which, a prospect was specifically paid in the means of up to $6,000 in order to go and guarantee the recruitment of a particular high caliber athlete. Obviously, that is still a no-no, even with the standards of NIL coming into effect not too long ago, just a couple of years ago when NIL did go into effect in 2021. But for the second example that the NCAA gave, if you really think about it, it wouldn't be something that I think Tennessee would be punished for under the current NIL rules. And the reason why I say it like that is, so this particular prospect that the NCAA itself did end up citing in their report under Prospect 2. This is a guy that did end up committing to the University of Tennessee. Dude was accompanied by his mom and his sister when, he was moving onto campus for the first time. And I guess, the mom was talking to the head coach about a medical procedure that she really wanted to get, but couldn't because of the outstanding medical debt. And before they left from Knoxville after they got the kid moved in, the head coach allegedly handed her an envelope approximately with $3,000 in cash, which the mother used to pay for medical bills. Now, why I say that under the current NIL rules, if you really think about it, they probably wouldn't be punished for that today, is whether it comes from the head coach or whether it comes from a donor for somebody's business in the Knoxville community. Those NIL deals happen all the time where, student athletes are sponsored by a local community, whether it's from a donor, maybe a university collective. So the second example, in my opinion, I don't think they would have been punished for that but this did happen pre-NIL. So anyways, doesn't change the fact that there is punishments that were handed out. And I'm not going to read all of the penalties that Tennessee was in force, because there's actually is quite a bit in here in this NCAA article. But basically what you really need to know is, to some, it's going to seem like a slap on the wrist. They're not going to be banned from going to a bowl game in the next couple of years or anything like that. They're actually not necessarily losing too many scholarships either. They are going to be seeing a reduction in football scholarships. They're going to lose a total of 28 scholarships during the term of probation, including at least 2 scholarships each year. And that probation period is 5 years long as well. So you're really talking about losing 5 to 6 scholarships a year. So while Tennessee will be put at a slight disadvantage in recruiting, instead of having that full 25 scholarships that each school at the higher end of Division I football will be allotted every year, Tennessee is going to be working with 19 to 20 scholarships over the next 5 years. So it's going to be more important for the University of Tennessee to identify who they want to get and make sure that they develop those players that they do already have on the roster. That's going to become more evident over the next 4 to 5 years while they are under probation. Again, they are not going to be banned from going to a bowl game. So at least they won't have to do that. They did, however, have to pay a fine of $8 million. It was an $8 million fine, and that $8 million fine that came from the ESPN article that came out the day that the sanctions were announced. This was going to be basically to make up for what they would be projected to make if they were to miss the postseason due to a bowl ban for this upcoming season and then in the 2024 season. That's what that would do. So I was on Twitter. I saw some of the reactions to this. And by the way, Jeremy Pruitt did end up getting a 6-year show clause as well. So he cannot be employed at any NCAA institution during that show cause. And even if he gets hired during this time, he will be suspended for the entirety of his first year of his employment as well. So there's that. And not only did that happen to them, but Tennessee was not great under Jeremy Pruitt before the wins were ultimately vacated. It was not a great tenure at the University of Tennessee. They ended up going 16-19 from 2018 to 2020, 2020 being that COVID year. That does include 10-16 in conference play. 2019 being the highlight, where before the vacated wins, they went 8-5. They did also win the Gator Bowl, but the one punishment that to me makes absolutely no sense, and I hate that the NCAA does this, and I know, we as a country, we come with a lot of diverse ideas, and we don't have a consensus agreement on a lot of things, but I'm sure a lot of us that are actually college football fans, I think we can agree that vacating wins is really stupid. I'm sorry. It is just stupid that they end up vacating these wins from the University of Tennessee, right? So for those of you that are a little bit older, I know that some of you are aware of the Men in Black movies. They have a stick that they can use to wipe someone's memory. It could be set for either something short-term or something long-term, but that stick can be whipped out at any given point by any of the Men in Black agents, and it can remove somebody's temporary memory to forget what just happened right before their eyes if something really out of pocket happens in the heat of the moment, right? So Tennessee, they had 11 of their 16 wins from 2018 to 2020 vacated. The 2018 record still going to stand at 5-7, but the 8 wins in 2019 and the 2020 record as well, their 3 wins in that all-conference schedule, that's all going to remain as well. That's going to be vacated, but Here's the thing, though. That magic stick in Men in Black does not exist in real life. Did we not watch the games happen on the field? Like, what are we doing? And it's not like Tennessee heavily benefited. I mean, I talked about Jeremy Pruitt's record. It's not like they were doing a lot of winning. They were never at the same level that current head coach Josh Heupel has them right now, where they're till late in the season where they got dropped by Georgia. That score might have looked close, but Georgia was in control the entire time. That's a story for a different time, but I'm just saying, Josh Heupel's got Tennessee winning a little bit more than what Jeremy Pruitt has. And like I said, some of you guys may be looking at these notable punishments and saying, "Oh, well, Jake, they slapped them on the wrist." Well, here's the thing. Tennessee did self-report. They didn't wait for the NCAA to come banging on their door before they start cooperating with said entity. And now that we have NIL in place, now that the NCAA is allowing, well, they were forced to change on the NIL front, but that's a story for a different time. But on the NIL front, what the NCAA is around it, I think this is going to be the way moving forward, where instead of seeing these bowl bans, we'll still see a reduction in scholarships if there's any infractions going forward. But I think we're going to see fines, hurt them in the checkbook. I think that's, more than fair. And more importantly, that doesn't hurt the current players that are in the program. Like, why should the players on the current roster, as well as the current coaching staff, be punished for something that happened with a previous coaching staff? And going back to maybe some of those players that did benefit of getting money under the table, well, all things considered, most of those players are gone, if not all of them. The Tennessee roster of today's players that are going to be taking the field come September for the Tennessee Volunteers, it's a lot different than the 2020 Tennessee team that took the field. It's a completely different cast of players. So it might be, some people are not going to be happy with the sanctions that Tennessee received from the NCAA, but I think that this was fair, and I'm the first person to go out and really, what's the word? Really criticize the NCAA, right? So that's really what it barrels down to.